Hi guys, welcome back to Prospect Channel TV. Thank you for always coming out here. If you are just joining us, please kindly subscribe and don't forget to give us a thumbs up. Thank you. A civic society organization, Yiaga Africa, has released what it tagged key findings on events that surrounded last Saturday's presidential and National Assembly elections. According to Yiaga Africa, regarding the setup and the opening of polling units, there was the late arrival of Independent National Electoral Commission INEC officials and the late commencement of polls. The group, in its statement signed by its executive director, Samson Itodo, and the chairman watching the vote, Dr. Aisha Abdullahi, said that in the polling unit observed by its observers, they found that INEC officials arrived at the polling unit by 7:30 a.m. in only 27% of polling units. It stated that the late opening of polling units resulted in the late commencement of accreditation and voting, which varied across the geopolitical zones, and that by 9:30 a.m., only 44% of sampled polling units had commenced accreditation and voting across the country. In the respective geopolitical zones, only 46% of polling units in the North Central Zone, 46% of polling units in the Northeast Zone, 44% of polling units in the Northwest, and 63% of polling units in the Southwest Zone had commenced accreditation and voting. There were even more pronounced delays in the Southeast and South-South zones, where only 11% of polling units in the Southeast Zone and 32% of polling units in the South-South Zone had commenced. Challenges with locating polling units had anticipated in Yiaga Africa's pre-election report. Voters encountered difficulties with locating polling units assigned to them by INEC following the migration of voters to polling units. Some voters did not receive the SMS notification sent by INEC, which created confusion in some polling units. Deployment of security forces were observed at 88% of polling units. In 44% of the polling units, they were professional and not partisan. Insufficient election materials. Yiaga Africa received reports of shortfalls in sensitive and non-sensitive materials such as ballot papers, ink, and result sheets, the findings stated. On the deployment of the bimodal voter accreditation system (BVAS), Yiaga Africa stated that it observed the deployment of the BVAS across the polling units took place at 99% of polling units, and the BVAS was used throughout the day for the accreditation of voters. It stated that in 89% of polling units, the BVAS functioned properly, but in 8% of polling units, the BVAS malfunctioned and it was fixed, and in 2% of the polling units, it malfunctioned and was replaced. On misconduct at the polling unit, Yiaga Africa noted that watching the vote, observers reported that at 6% of the polling unit, voters face intimidation, harassment, or insult, while at 6% of the polling unit, WTV observers reported situations that were identified as likely voter inducement. The group further reported that at 98% of polling units, the polling officials obtained the number of accredited voters from the BVAS and recorded on African in from EC 8A, and at 98% of polling units, the polling officials showed how every ballot papers were marked to the party agent. In terms of polling units level results transmission, in 83% of polling units, the presiding officials used the beavers to take a snapshot of the result sheet from EC 8A, and in 69% of polling units, the presiding officials attempted to transmit or send the polling unit results image to the INEC online database. Yiaga Africa estimates that national voter turnout for the 2023 presidential election will be 29.8% plus 10% based on registered voters, and will be 31.3%. Then we have 1.0% based on the number of PVC collected by Yiaga Africa estimates that national voter turnout for the 2023 presidential election will be 29.4% plus 1.0 based on registered voters, and will be 31.3% plus 1.0% based on the number of PVC collected. The percentage of the rejected ballot is based to 3.6%. Okay. Yiaga Africa observed 8 instances, 0.5% of polling units of irregularities in vote turnout, where turnout was over 100%. Well, only God knows what Wike did in Rivers State. But last, the will of God will be done. I'm dropping it here. Kindly share your thoughts below the comment section. Thank you very much. Bye for now.